Welcome to WTF Media. If you love crazy, unbelievable stories, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out. Let's jump right into today's story. I'm not dumb except when it comes to women. I know. Really aren't most men dumb when it comes to women? I know some of us think they know about them, that they understand them, but do they really? I think not. Like most men, I just try to muddle through and do things as nearly right as I can. Having said that, I believe that is the reason it took me so long to realize I am really dumb when it comes to women, and specifically to my wife. I had seen the signs of her disrespect and cheating for nearly 5 months before I decided that if there was smoke, there might just be a fire I needed to put out. As the old song went, we got married in a fever hotter than a pepper sprout. I found, wooed, and married Catherine over the course of 1 year in college. I was attending Oklahoma State University at Stillwater, majoring in partying when she stumbled into my life. My real major was in hotel and restaurant management. The partying was what I did when I should have been studying. I was also working at Eskimo Joe's, a well-known and popular college hangout, as a bouncer. The bouncers rotated through different stations in the building to do their job. We served at the doors to verify IDs and wandered through the crowd to be sure nothing untoward occurred. There was an upstairs in the bar, and one of us was always stationed near the head of the stairs to keep the drunks from falling down them. I got a quick education on the female of the species while I worked there. I learned which ones would, and which ones wouldn't, and which ones wouldn't, and which ones would, and which ones would some of the time, and how to identify each of them. When I manned the post at the head of the stairs, I could overlook much of the lower floor. I watched as the women worked the dumb bastards on the main floor below from my post on the balcony. Some of the women had 2 or 3 of the poor, dumb bastards buying them drinks at the same time in hopes of taking them home or to their cars for a little nookie later in the evening. Many of the young ladies would cadge drinks from the dumb men until just before closing time. Usually, at last call or slightly before, there would be a large exodus of these women. They would use the pretense of going to the restroom before leaving with the young man that had treated them for the evening to allow them to dart out the back door that opened off the hallway to the restrooms. This, of course, pissed off the men, and many times they had to be counseled by one of the bouncers to calm them down. I knew which of the young women routinely played this game, and as a public service, I would warn my friends, or sometimes just a guy I thought was nice and didn't deserve getting shit on about them. Others I just let get taken. Anyway, one Saturday evening after a home game, I was working and watching the drunks make fools of themselves when this absolute goddess stumbled into my arms. Drunk was an understatement for her. She was totally blotto and claimed to not even know where she was. She couldn't find the friends she had supposedly came with, but I understood that. I had never seen her with those women before, and they were one of the worst groups to duck out the back door after drinking free for the entire night. I was pretty sure they were gone. It was after the last call, and they normally darted out when last call was announced. About that time, with Catherine literally draped in my arms, the man she had been cadging drinks from came up. He glared at me and grabbed her by the arm. "Come on, Callie," he said. "We need to get out of here. I was beginning to think you had disappeared on me." Well, now I knew her name, I thought. I was about to let her go with the young man when she roused somewhat and looked at him with a questioning look on her face. "My name's not Callie. It's Catherine. Who you? Why do I have to go with you? Where are Cindy and the other girls? I was supposed to go with them when the bar closed." The man just pulled on her arm and said, "Callie, Catherine, whatever. I've been buying you drinks all night long and you're coming home with me now." Catherine roused herself once more and tried to stand and jerk away from the man. She looked scared and said, "No, I don't know you, and I don't want to go with you. Now leave me alone." The man tried to pull her away once more, and she resisted. I decided she really didn't know him and didn't want to go, so I pulled her toward a chair and tried to get between them. "Whoa there, dude," I said. "It looks like the lady doesn't want to go with you. Now why don't you just move along like she asked before we have trouble?" A mask of hatred came over his face, and he pushed me. "Back off, asshole. The bitch is with me and we're leaving. Now let it drop if you know what's good for you." I moved back a little, then grabbed his arm and locked it behind his back with a quick twist. He yelled out in pain as one of my fellow bouncers came up. "You have a problem here, Dave." Nah. The dude here wanted to take the lady with him, but she didn't want to go. He didn't want to take no for an answer, but I think he understands now, don't you? When I said that, I pulled upward on the butthead's arm a little more, and he yelped in pain once again and rose onto his tiptoes. "Ow. Yeah, I got it. Just let me go, asshole." I walked the man to the door and out to the sidewalk's edge. I gave him a little push and said, "Okay, bub, we got your picture now, so don't want to have any more trouble from you, or we'll have to call in security next time." I walked back into the building to see a couple of the waitresses clustered around Catherine. She had passed out in the chair. Damn, now what, I wondered. Patty looked at me and said, "Dave, Catherine lives in my dorm. If you'll help me get her back to the dorm and into her room, I can take care of her from there." Well, that's what I did, and that is how I became one of Catherine's favorite people. The next weekend, I was working Friday night when the beautiful woman bounced up to me, threw her arms around me, and hugged me before she put a very sloppy and long kiss on my lips. I pushed her back and said, "Whoa, what's that all about?" "You saved me last Saturday. Patty told me you kept that asshole from taking me home. Then you drove us back to the dorm and helped her get me into my room. I don't know what would have happened to me if you hadn't saved me. I didn't even know him, and my asshole friends did the old drink and dash out the back door at last call trick without me. I was supposed to go with them, but they didn't wait for me. They just took off. I never even heard them call last call, so I missed it." Well, for the next 2 years, when I was working, Catherine was always near me for protection. We got to know each other very well and began dating a few months after I saved her. When we graduated, we got married. Catherine is just a little high maintenance. She likes to party and dance, and she likes to eat good food and drink fine wine. That's okay. We have great jobs and no children, so we can afford it. We just can't afford as much as she wants right now, and that pisses her off when I tell her we can't go out until after payday. Several of our arguments about money revolve around the fact my parents are pretty well off. They own a large farm store and almost 4 sections of farmland in our hometown. We have a large year-round fishing and hunting resort on the land also. When I tell Catherine we can't afford something, she almost always yells that if I wasn't such an idiot, I would get it from my parents. She thinks I should go back home and take a management job from Dad so we can make big bucks and be the big ducks and be the big ducks in the little puddle. I have told her repeatedly that I am here in this job to gain some real-world experience and learn how the big boys do it before I return to our company. The resort manager plans to retire in 3 more years, and I will be taking over his job at that time. That isn't fast enough for Catherine. I began getting snide comments about my ability to earn enough to pay our bills. Occasionally, Catherine would go out after work with her friends and come back home smashed. Many times over the last several months, I had to pick her up or pay for a cab. About 5 months ago, all that stopped. Oh, she still came home blitzed, and many times I had to go to her office with her the next day to pick up her car. Sometimes I had to take her to her favorite bar to pick it up, but I never had to pay off the cab or pick her up. A time or two, I found her sleeping on the living room floor when I came down the next morning. I wondered how she got into the house if she passed out on the floor inside the door. Finally, after several arguments, I decided to find out what was really going on. I did what many men do in such a situation. I bought recorders and placed them in Catherine's purse, car, and even one in her office, hidden under her desk. I had our landline tapped and bought the necessary gear to copy her cell phone calls. What I found out killed my love for her. She had become sexually involved with one of the men she worked with. Many of the late nights and the shopping trips on Saturday with the girls over the last 5 months had been her liaisons with good old Gregory Anders. He was one of those obnoxious salesmen you hate. Greg was arrogant, had a smarmy smile, and was a suck-up to his betters, his one saving grace. Well, perhaps not. Not only was he the highest paid salesman in her company, but his father owned the damn place. I had enough recordings to understand 2 things. When I had cut down on our visits to high-priced dining establishments and cut down on entertaining and buying fine wines and going to expensive plays and so forth, Catherine complained long and loudly at work about how I mistreated her. Gregory picked up on her unhappiness and began following the women on their nights out. He flashed his money, bought them drinks, and generally showed them the good life until he had Catherine's interest. From there he managed to get her to meet him for lunch at expensive bistros. After she was hooked on his high-spending ways, he invited her to evening meals after work at posh places. After a few weeks of this, Catherine had succumbed to his seduction and began spending time in bed with Gregory. He began giving her orders, and to my shock, she obeyed them. All he had to do was threaten to cut off his largesse, and she knuckled under to his demands. Blowjob in the car. Sure, honey. Sex in the restaurant bathroom. Okay, whatever you want, honey. I even had recordings of him telling her to cut down on the sex we had, because he didn't want my sloppy seconds. He told her she had to make sure more than 24 hours went by from the time she screwed me until she did him, or he would drop her. He said, I refuse to have sex with my woman after she's been with some loser. I don't care how you do it, but you make sure you're clean before you come to me. Our sex life rapidly began to decline and revolved around good old Gregory's sales trips out of town and on Sundays. He was never with her on a Sunday, so that rapidly became my only guaranteed day of loving. I have to admit, I really didn't care much after I found out what was going on. I had only kept the cheating bitch around as long as I had because I was preparing for the divorce. Thankfully, we had only been married about 27 months, and there were no kids yet when I found out about good old Greg and Kate. She hates to be called Kate, so that is how I think of her now. We were renting a pretty nice condo and buying 2 new vehicles. She, of course, had to have a BMW. I was really happy with my 2010 Phone 150 Super Crew 4x4 I had bought new when we got out of college. When we went out, she refused to ride in that damn old truck and insisted we drive her car. Of course, we don't go out together much now. I just do enough with her to keep her in the dark. Today begins my revenge on Kate and Greg. She has a date with him for tonight. She plans to meet him at the mall at 6:30 p.m. They are going for drinks, then to a new French restaurant for supper. Afterward, they are going dancing. She told me she was going out with the girls to a baby shower. Kate came out of the shower at 5:30 and began dressing. She was ready to leave at 6. That would just give her enough time to get to the mall and meet Greg. I waited in the hallway beside our bedroom door until she started out. I came bustling in and wrapped her in my arms. I gave her a kiss and began rubbing her. Damn it, Dave, stop. You know I have to meet the girls at 6:30. I don't have time for this, and besides, you'll muss my makeup. I'm sorry, honey. I just need you so badly. How about a quickie, now then a nice long screw when you get home? No, I don't have time, Dave. I pushed her back until her feet touched the edge of the bed. I already knew she was wearing thigh-high stockings and bikini panties. When her feet touched the bed, she fell back and I moved on top of her. It was a quick fuck, and I came straight inside her. I kissed her and pulled away. She was yelling about how I had messed up her makeup and how I had made her dirty now. She started for the bathroom to clean up, but I grabbed her and pulled her to the door and down the hallway. When we passed the table, she kept her purse on. I picked it up and handed it to her. I'm sorry I took so long, honey, I said. I really needed that though. Thank you. Here is your purse. If you hurry, you can still make it and not be too late. Tell the girls I said, you can blame me for making you late. Tell them I apologize. But I need to clean up. I can't go to town like this. No, you're fine, honey. Hell, this won't be the first time you've ran around town all evening with cum in your pussy. We used to do it all the time, remember? No one will ever know. Now one will ever know. Now go on and have fun, babe. Catherine glared at me and turned toward her car. It was all I could do not to laugh. I sat up waiting on the recordings so I could see what asshole thought of getting a dirty pussy that night. Oh man, was he pissed at Kate. I heard them kissing and moaning when they went into his condo. There was a lot of rustling sounds. Then I heard Kate say, "Greg, honey, I'm sorry, but Dave made me make love to him before I left. Let me go and clean up before we go to bed." What? I told you not to let that little asshole near my pussy when I was going to be in it. I heard a slap and Kate screamed, "Now get your ass into the bathroom and clean up. I better not find any cum in there when you're done. And you can forget about getting your pussy eaten before we fuck." I couldn't hear much else because Kate had apparently left her purse in the living room and they fucked in the bedroom. But I was happy inside. I had pissed old Greggy off and from the sound of it, maybe gotten Kate slapped. I hadn't seen a bruise, so I assumed he had just slapped her. The next 2 times I knew Kate was going to be with Greg. I forced her to screw me. In fact, every time she went out from home, I tried to leave a load in her in case she was really going to see Greg instead of do whatever innocent thing I had been told she was going to do. Greg was getting more and more angry because Kate kept coming to him with a pussy full of sperm. He called her a cheating cunt and other horrible names, almost every time she was crying before he took her roughly. It was so cool. I fucked her, and she left home crying from fear of Greg. Then he was mean to her, and yelled at her, and yelled at her, and she cried more. As far as I know, he didn't hit her again after that first time, and I suspect that had only been a slap on the arse. Although the last time she was with Greg, she felt bad. I had enough to do, and decided that my revenge was over. I set it up to serve her with divorce papers during her Saturday date. I even provided Greg's wife with copies of the notes and photographs I had. No, I didn't have any pictures of them getting dirty, just pictures of them having lunch, dancing, and kissing in his car. It was bad enough. Once or twice, Kate stuck out her breasts and spread her legs. I had 2 pictures of her, sucking him off while he was driving the car. I paid extra to have Kate served after she and Greg got to his condo in the city. Actually, it was a condo leased by his father's company for company visitors. Greg and his father both used it for their liaisons with women to whom they were not married. Oh yes, I was also kind enough to send Greg's mother pictures of his father and his secretary fooling around too. Heck, why not be a nice guy? The process server met Greg and Kate in the lobby of the condo. After he served her, he gave Greg a letter I had prepared for him. The process server said to Greg, "I have been instructed to give you this letter, Mr. Anders. Mr. Stevens has outlined his actions for you, so you know what has been going on the last few months, and what you can expect when you get home next." In the letter, I explained the documentation I had against him, and Kate, and that I had furnished it to his mother and his wife. I also asked him if he liked getting my leavings from Kate. I told him I had made sure that every time she came to him, I sent some of me for him to play in. I'm afraid Greg became so angry he hit Kate. He managed to hit her twice before the security guard grabbed him and pulled him away. I heard this, and I heard the guard call for the police and an ambulance for Kate. I felt bad. Yes, I wanted to hurt Kate, but I didn't want her physically injured. I just didn't know Greg would actually try to beat her. About an hour later, I got a call from the hospital. They wanted me to come down and complete some paperwork and bring Kate home. I laughed and said, "Sorry ma'am, I can't do that. Kate and I are getting a divorce, and she doesn't live with me. Why don't you call her lover and have him pick her up?" "Oh, well, I suppose I can do that. What is his name?" I told her Greg's name and phone number. She was quiet for a moment, then she said, sir, I'm sorry but I can't call Mr. Anders. Your wife is in the emergency room because Mr. Anders beat her badly this evening. I believe he is in jail now, sir." "Okay, here are 2 more phone numbers. Maybe one of them can help." I gave the phone numbers of Kate's parents and one of her 2 best friends. I don't know who picked her up. I never heard from her for nearly 4 days. Wednesday evening, I left work and found Kate waiting by my truck. Kate had tears in her eyes when she stopped in front of me. "David, honey, can we please talk about things? Please?" "No, Kate, not much to talk about. You cheated and I caught you. Now we're getting a divorce." "But I don't want a divorce. Dave, can't we get over this? I don't have anywhere to go. Please, I need to come home, Dave. I promise I'll be better if you just let me come home and make it up to you." "Nope, not gonna happen, babe." "I hear Greggy had to move into your little love nest. Why don't you move in with him and his daddy? I bet they would be glad to take care of you." I walked around Kate and got into my truck. When I closed the door, she was standing there crying. She hadn't moved before I drove out of sight of her. Now comes another thing I didn't understand about women. Kate was working full-time and made almost $36,000 a year. Why didn't she have enough to rent a place like I had? Why didn't she have enough to rent a place like I had? Why did she move into that damn condo with Greg and his father? I don't know. What I did get from the police report is that Greg and his father beat her so badly she died after 3 days in the hospital. She had apparently angered them when she refused to let them DP her. She thought she was Greg's lover, and they would marry after the divorce, according to the statement she gave the police before she died. Now I really feel like shit. Kate killed our marriage searching for the good life. I killed Kate with my silly acid revenge. I looked up and said, "Bartender, gimme other. Gotta forget this shit." I was floating, and the world was spinning. Then a damn mule kicked me in the head. There were dozens of people standing over me. I was looking up the short skirt of a goddess. She was looking down at me. Her face showed shock, and she dropped to her knees beside me. "David, is that really you? What the hell are you doing so drunk? You fall off your bar stool." "Patty," I muttered. "Yes, Dave. I'd ask how you've been, but I don't think you're in any condition to tell me. Come on, let's get you up and see if we can sober you up some." Patty and one of the bouncers helped me to her booth. She fed me coffee. I ran to the restroom twice to get rid of the coffee and most of my guts. God, I'm glad I don't have to clean up after me. After a couple of hours, I was at least able to talk without much problem. Patty demanded to know what I was doing there so drunk. I told her the whole story you have just read and said, "So you see, Patty, I killed her. I don't know what I'm going to do now. I hated her for what she did to me, but I didn't want her dead." Patty sat there in shock. She stared at me with her mouth open. Finally, she wrapped her arm around me and gave me a good hug. "Dave, some of what you did was pretty despicable, but you didn't kill her. That asshole Greg killed her. You couldn't know he'd do that." Patty sat staring into the distance for a moment, then said, "You know, Dave, some of this is my fault too. I'm sorry now I never told you about Catherine while we were in college. Even after you were dating, she had an eye for the guys. If they had a lot of money or just a little and were willing to spend it on her, she would lead them on. A lot of the nights, she didn't spend time with you at Joe's. She was out with some guy with deep pockets. How do you think she came up with the money for some of those expensive clothes she wore? I never told you because you weren't exclusive then, and I really didn't think you would fall for her line of bull and marry her. Hell, you worked at Joe's and knew what kind of tramps worked the floor there. I thought you were just after her for her pussy like the other guys. So you see I'm guilty too in a way." I sat looking at Patty. Even at college, huh? Shit, I just don't understand women. I thought we had a good thing going. Dave, don't paint all women with the same brush. A lot of us aren't like that, you know. If you use those criteria, I suppose I should run from you because all men are like Gregory Wright. Dave, I know that isn't true. I worked with you for 2 years. I know what kind of man you are. How many women did you take home and put to bed when they were so drunk they could have gotten raped if someone hadn't taken care of them? Dave, you just need to learn women are like men. There are some good honorable ones out there and some that aren't. There are women players like there are men. Look for the good ones and do the best you can. We reason differently than men, it's true, and we think with our emotions more. But that's not so hard to understand, is it? Paddy smiled and tugged at my arm. Come on, Dave. Let me get you home. Where do you live, by the way? If you're really interested in learning something about women when this all settles down, I'll give you some lessons on understanding them, okay? That's the end of this story. If you found it engaging, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this.